A bird slams into a jet engine at 30,000 feet. Catastrophe. But what if that jet could think, adapt, and save itself? That's the promise behind today's most advanced autonomous drones. The AN 184 costs as much as a family car, claims to fly completely on its own, and has been called both the future of transportation and a dangerous waste of money. Today we're diving deep into the world's most expensive autonomous drone to answer one question: revolutionary technology or just an overpriced toy? $20,000. That's enough for a down payment on a house in many parts of the country. Or you could spend it on a drone that promises to fly without you touching the controls. The question is, should you? The drone market has exploded over the past decade, growing from a niche hobby to a $30 billion industry. Consumer drones started around $500, but now we're seeing models that cost as much as luxury cars. The AN 184 represents the pinnacle of this trend, a fully autonomous aerial vehicle with a price tag that makes most people's jaws drop. The AN 184 is manufactured by AN, a Chinese technology company founded in 2014. The company made headlines when they unveiled their autonomous aerial vehicle at CES 2016. The name 184 actually has meaning. It carries one passenger, has 8 propellers and 4 arms. Unlike typical consumer drones that you control with a remote, the AN is designed to transport people autonomously. The specs are impressive on paper. The AN 184 weighs about 260 kilograms, can carry a payload of up to 100 kilograms, and reaches speeds of 100 kilometers per hour. Its battery allows for approximately 25 minutes of flight time, which translates to about 35 kilometers of travel distance. But the most notable feature is its autonomous capability. Users simply enter their destination through a mobile app, and the drone handles the rest. Is this level of technology worth $20,000? That depends on what you're comparing it to. Traditional helicopters cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, plus pilot training and maintenance. From that perspective, $20,000 might seem reasonable. But compared to consumer drones that cost a few $100s, that's where opinions start to divide. The core technology behind the AN 184's autonomy is a combination of GPS, obstacle avoidance sensors, and machine learning algorithms. The drone uses multiple redundant systems to ensure safety. If one navigation system fails, others take over. It also incorporates visual sensors that can detect obstacles and automatically adjust flight paths. According to AN, the drone conducts thousands of safety tests daily. Their system constantly checks propulsion, navigation, and battery systems before and during flight. This approach is similar to what we see in commercial aircraft, which undergo rigorous safety protocols before takeoff. The autonomous technology isn't just for show, it serves practical purposes. The drone can automatically return to its launch point if battery levels get too low, or if it loses connection with the control center. It can also hover in place if it encounters unexpected obstacles or adverse weather conditions. But does it actually work as advertised? This is where things get complicated. AN has conducted over 1,000 manned test flights since 2017, including flights with the company's CEO, government officials, and journalists. These tests have demonstrated the drone's ability to fly autonomously in various conditions, including night flights, flights during fog, and flights carrying heavy payloads. Independent verification has been more limited. Aviation authorities have been cautious about allowing companies to test passenger drones in populated areas, which has slowed the verification process. The company has shared videos showing successful test flights, but critics point out that these are carefully controlled demonstrations. The Federal Aviation Administration in the United States has not yet certified the AN 184 for passenger transport. In China, the company has received some approval for test flights, but is still working through the complex regulatory process for commercial deployment. That brings us to one of the biggest challenges facing the AN 184 and similar autonomous vehicles: regulation. Aviation authorities worldwide are still developing frameworks to regulate autonomous aerial vehicles, especially those designed to transport passengers. The FAA's Part 107 rules, which govern drone operations in the US, currently don't allow for autonomous passenger drones. Similar regulations exist in Europe and other regions. Changing these rules requires demonstrating safety over thousands of flight hours, which takes time and resources. Regulatory approval is particularly challenging because the EHang 184 crosses boundaries between traditional aircraft categories. It's neither a conventional helicopter nor a typical consumer drone, which means regulators often need to create new frameworks to address its unique characteristics. Industry experts suggest that full regulatory approval for autonomous passenger drones like the EHang 184 might still be 3 to 5 years away in most countries. This timeline could significantly impact the value proposition for potential buyers. Despite these challenges, EHang has found practical applications for their technology. The company has partnered with the government of Guangzhou, China, to establish an air taxi service using the 184 and newer models. They've also worked with emergency services to explore using autonomous drones for medical transport and disaster response. In Dubai, authorities have expressed interest in using the EHang 184 as part of their smart city initiatives. The Dubai Roads and Transport Authority conducted tests with EHang in 2017, though full implementation has been slower than initially announced. These real-world applications suggest that the technology isn't just a gimmick. There are genuine use cases where autonomous aerial vehicles could provide value, particularly in emergency response and urban mobility. So what about competitors? The EHang 184 isn't alone in this space. Companies like Joby Aviation, Lilium, and Volocopter are all developing autonomous aerial vehicles for urban transportation. Some of these alternatives are even more expensive, with development costs in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Joby Aviation's aircraft, for instance, can travel up to 150 miles on a single charge, significantly farther than the EHang 184. Lilium's vehicle uses a different propulsion system that may be more efficient for longer journeys. These companies have also secured substantial funding from investors, suggesting confidence in the market potential. What sets the EHang 184 apart is its focus on complete autonomy from the beginning. While many competitors are developing vehicles that will initially have pilots before transitioning to autonomous operation, EHang designed their vehicle to be autonomous from day one. Now let's talk about the actual user experience. Operating the EHang 184 is designed to be simple. Users enter their destination on a tablet, press a button to take off, and the drone handles everything else. There's a basic interface inside the cabin that displays flight information and emergency controls. The cabin itself is small, with room for one passenger and a small amount of luggage. It's air-conditioned and includes basic amenities like reading lights and a small storage compartment. Some users have compared it to sitting in a very small helicopter or a flying motorcycle with a cabin. The simplicity of operation is both a strength and a weakness. On one hand, it makes the technology accessible to people without pilot training. On the other hand, the lack of manual controls could make some passengers uncomfortable, especially during the technology's early days. Safety is a critical consideration for any aerial vehicle, especially one designed to transport passengers autonomously. EHang has implemented several safety features in the 184, including redundant propulsion systems, multiple flight control computers, and automatic return-to-home functions. The drone is programmed to land at the nearest safe location if it detects critical system failures. It also includes a manual override system that allows ground operators to take control in emergencies. These safety features are essential for building public trust and meeting regulatory requirements. However, all new technologies face unforeseen challenges. In 2017, a prototype of the EHang 184 reportedly crashed during a test flight in China. The company later clarified that the incident was part of their testing process and helped them improve the vehicle's safety systems. This transparency about failures is actually a positive sign. All aerospace manufacturers, including Boeing and Airbus, conduct extensive failure testing to improve their products. The key is learning from these failures and implementing improvements. There's also the question of battery technology. The current battery limitations mean the EHang 184 can only fly for about 25 minutes. While this may be sufficient for short urban trips, it's a significant limitation compared to traditional aircraft. Battery technology is improving rapidly, with energy density increasing by approximately 5 to 8% annually. This suggests that future versions of autonomous aerial vehicles will have significantly improved range and flight time. But for now, the limitations are real and impact the practical utility of the $20,000 drone. So who's actually buying these drones? The primary market isn't individual consumers, but rather companies and government agencies. Emergency services are exploring autonomous drones for rapid response in disaster scenarios. Tourism companies see potential for offering aerial tours without the cost of helicopter pilots. Wealthy individuals represent another market segment. For someone who already owns multiple vehicles and perhaps a small aircraft, a $20,000 autonomous drone might be seen as an interesting addition to their collection. It's less practical transportation and more cutting-edge technology showcase. AI has been somewhat secretive about actual sales figures, but industry analysts estimate they've sold fewer than 100 units of the 184 and its successor models. This limited sales volume is partly due to regulatory restrictions and partly due to the experimental nature of the technology. The future may look quite different. Morgan Stanley predicts that the urban air mobility market could reach $1.5 trillion by 2040. As regulations evolve and technology improves, autonomous aerial vehicles could become more mainstream, potentially driving down prices through economies of scale. Ultimately, the question of whether the EHang 184 is worth $20,000 depends on your perspective. For most individuals, it's clearly an extravagance, an expensive toy with limited practical value given current regulations and technology limitations. For companies exploring new mobility solutions or emergency response technologies, it might represent a worthwhile investment in future capabilities. The knowledge gained from operating these early models could provide valuable insights as the technology matures. And for the ultra-wealthy or technology enthusiasts, the value proposition might be simpler, being among the first to experience what could become a revolutionary form of transportation. There's a certain catch-it to pioneering new technologies, regardless of their immediate practical utility. What's clear is that autonomous aerial vehicles are more than just a passing fad. Major companies from Airbus to Uber are investing billions in this technology, suggesting that the concept has genuine long-term potential. Whether the EHang 184 specifically represents good value at $20,000 is perhaps less important than what it represents for the future of transportation. So is the $20,000 self-flying drone genius or an overpriced toy? The answer is probably somewhere in between. It's a remarkable technological achievement that points toward an exciting future, but one that's limited by current battery technology, regulations, and practical considerations. For now, it remains primarily in the realm of early adopters and specialized use cases. But a decade from now, autonomous aerial vehicles might be as common as ride-sharing services are today. And when that happens, we'll look back at the EHang 184 as one of the pioneers that helped make it possible. If you found this deep dive into cutting-edge drone technology valuable, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe for more analysis of tomorrow's tech today. Thanks for watching.